Rolling. All right, so this is session 3, the last session of this mini boot camp, Sales Plays in 30 Days. I'm Heather Holtz-Knudsen. I've already introduced myself. If you need more about me, let me know. But I think everyone has heard this slide before. And what we do from a consulting advisory standpoint, we help companies accelerate revenue accelerate revenue growth, profitability, and value creation through various types of strategy and advisory, but really our core product portfolio is Revenue Room Connect, which consists of these boot camps, Rev Labs, Revved Up, and Revenue Room CXO. All right, so we are now in session 3, which is all about new logo acceleration from intent signal to closed won, and how do you do that faster? Oops, sorry. So what we're going to learn today is competitive displacement and how you're going to use competitive displacement to win competitive, customers who are working with your competitors during key renewal windows with strategic plays, how to use intent intercepts, i.e. buying signals that are outside of what I call someone literally saying, hey, I'm filling out a form, or they're saying, I'd like more information, or they're downloading the media kit. There are lots of buying intent signals that are happening on your website and within your owned properties every minute of every day. And how do you capture those so you're not waiting for someone to raise their hand? You're going after low-hanging fruit because the behavioral intents are there. And then once you know those, how do you utilize, and I used the dreaded word we talked about last time, omnichannel, let's multi-channel. How do you utilize the channels that are at your disposal to saturate the top accounts at all different decision-making levels so that you are gaining influence and brand exposure and accelerating speed to what we all want, which is book a call. That's the number one first thing that has to happen to then move into the next steps of creating opportunity, moving the opportunity through the pipeline, and getting it to closed won. All right. So we'll talk about why traditional ABM doesn't work, which ABM means account-based marketing. Why the old model doesn't work, how to get to these plays, competitive displacement, intent intercepts, omnichannel or multi-channel blitz, and building your signal to play system with some Q&A at the end. All right, so why is static ABM dead? So static ABM is this. We build an account list of 50 top accounts. We have one message for them. We have one point of contact that we say that's the decision maker. We go out, we send an email campaign, or we send email sequences, and we hope they're going to answer us. These do not work anymore. Your campaigns have to be, very much not only focused on the account type, but also the buying team. And in our world, a buying team is the CEO and what we call revenue critical CXOs that are in, the CRO, the CMO, the CPO, the COO. But those 5 roles have different motivators and reasons of why they would respond to us. And we know this because we have an advisory board that consists of this. It's very clear that a CEO wants one message or is going to respond to one message. A CFO is going to respond to something different. A CRO is motivated because their job is done differently or they're evaluated differently than a CMO. You need to understand not only the industry sectors that you're going after, but also what we call the buyer persona. And then you have to have a very nuanced way of reaching them that goes beyond just like, okay, we're going to tailor this ICP and this buyer persona with this message. And also you have a third element, which is what are they doing that is indicating buyer intent? So the old school is you're using what I just mentioned, the static list and passive nurtures. You're utilizing very channel silos, email. You're like what we're learning in our world is that email works for some people, LinkedIn messaging works for others. I actually am text messaging a lot of my clients right now, and even if they're prospects, they just respond better, and they don't. That whole idea of like, oh my God, never text message somebody is gone. Like they're used to it. Some people are on WhatsApp. You've got to figure out which channel is working, and the idea of opens and clicks is very deceiving today. and in terms of an email. Those are what we call vanity metrics. One is, do you know that it was actually them opening it and not their enterprise email systems? Are they forwarding it? Why are they clicking on it? Like, there are other signals that have to go around it. So these are the new school is, what are the new signals that happen? And if so, when they happen, are you responding within 48 hours? Is your RevOps team giving you dashboards that say, we have a research survey going out, and a person responded, and oh, by the way, the person who responded to the research survey is absolutely fits the ICP that you're trying to sell into? Do you have a dashboard immediately that you're going to follow up and be like, thanks so much for responding to the survey. I see some of the responses indicate that you may have a need. Let me start digging in, right? You've got, that's one example. Another could be that somebody is, visiting what I call a high intent page on your website 3 times plus. So that's not an email, that's your website. That would indicate some interest. What is the dashboard that you have that says, wow, that is a customer, or that's a prospect that I have been targeting forever, and that's in my top 50, and they did those pages on that type of event or that type of media program, or they're looking at competitors that are sponsoring these events. I need to follow up, and I have that data that I can utilize to help massage my message. So the shift from old school to new school ABM represents a fundamental change in how you operate as a team. And the static approaches of the old days don't work anymore. Like, just spray and pray doesn't work. Sending out a link to the media kit because the event is registration's open or the event's ready to be promoted doesn't work. You're just dealing with too competitive a marketplace. So the intent data revolution, and it's interesting, I talk about this a lot with media companies. We're so focused on offering first-party intent data to our advertisers or using it to do things better with audience. But the group that actually could utilize this to drive direct revenue is the sales team. And it's not being given to them. And what do I mean by that? We have right now, we're starting out and getting better at it, but I mentioned two things. I mentioned a survey, and I mentioned 3+ page views on high intent pages. So we use HubSpot. You could be using Salesforce. You could be using another CRM. But when someone visits high intent pages like registration, so if we're selling registration or membership, or someone's hitting our sponsor pages, or they're looking at, we have a marketplace on our site called on revenueroomconnect.com, and we have a marketplace of all of our vendors. If a high intent, like a prospect that we've scored, is viewing those pages, a dashboard is created whereby the salesperson is going to see, here are the leads that I've got to work with and prospects, and they're scored by priority. And I see that here are my 3-page plus clickers that are potential sponsor targets. Here are the people that answered the survey that not only answered it, but look like a duck and act like a duck, and that's connected to our Revenue Room CXO membership. Here are the folks that answered that actually aren't Revenue Room CXO, but they're actually bootcamp targets. So we are looking at behaviors, then organizing them by ICP and buyer persona, which then are prioritized by how valuable we see that potential new prospect. We also look at competitors. So in terms of the evaluation of like who is sponsoring other events that compete with ours, who are members of other membership organizations that compete with us. So there's obviously also analyst reports and guides, but the pattern that matters more than anything is it's got to be more than one signal. You're looking for clusters of activity that indicate genuine buying intent. Some of it is known, i.e., they're buying with your competitors. That is a very known, like they've got budget, they're buying with their competitors, they're not with you. And then there are the things that are happening from a behavioral aspect in your first party owned assets. Any questions before I move on? Okay. So let's talk about competitive displacement. I love this one because it's such an easy one, right? So basically, what you want to do is you want to go list all of your competitors, and you want to list them by channel. Like you've got your event competitors, let's say you've got your digital, your your digital advertising competitors, and your print competitors. And you want to create a list of companies that are working with your competitors. I would say overall, like you don't have the logo anywhere, or your competitor is getting a bucket of money that you're not. So you may get the competitor, you may get the brand on your events, and your competitor is getting it on digital, but you also have digital to sell. So you want to create this matrix of complete new logo wins that you want, that your competitors have that you don't, and then where you want to start getting pockets of budget, wallet share, where they're getting it and you're not, even though you may have it in one bucket and they have it in another. Okay. You want to look at this from a how am I winning those accounts? So your first metric is, once you create your list, what is my win rate based on the brand new logo win rate that they don't work with us, they work with other people, versus they're working with us, but they're only working with us in one channel, not the other. And you want to start looking at your win rate versus on that competitive strategy, versus you're just simply going out and trying, like, hey, that looks like a duck, and I want to see if it walks like a duck, like what I call complete cold outbound. You then want to look at your sales cycle times and the difference between, is that faster win for you than if you're doing cold, because you have a strategy that is about competitive displacement. You're organizing the strategy against complete new logo win versus I want to do wallet share win first in a channel. And you're going to start seeing, wow, this is actually this is a great strategy for us. And it actually needs to be part of every single weekly, monthly, quarterly sales cadence. And this strategic timing is, if again, this is more for events. Actually, it's not true. It's for events and media. Your strategic timing in media is when our budget's being created for certain things. Print budgets tend to be planned out. Again, I haven't sold print in a gazillion years, but in the old days, that was more of an annual decision. Whereas our print spend going to go, sign my contract in Q4, and that helps me with the next, full FY26, for example. Digital in the old days was every quarter we would get insertion orders for the next quarter. Events were planned annually, but from a competitive displacement standpoint, you want to be surrounding that prospect like 60 days or 90 days prior to your competitor's event taking place, and then be in for the kill when their renewal is going to come up. So you'll also start segmenting by readiness, i.e., tier one is it's a competitor, and you've also got signals, right? Like you're seeing they're clicking through emails. You see that they're on your website. They're doing things within your universe, even though they may not be working with you, but that you've got high intent. That's your lowest hanging fruit. You have a tier two, which are indirect signals. That's actually where you see them maybe like posting things on social. You're listening to them on social media. You've got LinkedIn Navigator. There may be job switches or changes. That's great for like you to go in. We talked about on the negative side, you have a job switch on your side. Well, you know what? Don't be nice. If you see a job switch going on the other, you need to be like, you're a new opportunity for them. And tier three is, yes, it's a highly desired account, but you don't have any of those signals. You're still going to go after them. But again, you want to prioritize them. You want to go after the lowest hanging fruit. So the first exercise would be map your top 10 competitor accounts and assign them to tiers based on signal strength. And you could even do this just to get your fingers wet with this is you might not have the high intent signals or the indirect signals yet, but create a hypothetical situation just so you start thinking about it in the right way. Any questions here? Okay. So the other thing you have to do is have to build your competitive narrative. We used to call it a competitive kill kit. Well, no one likes to use that terminology anymore. And we also don't like to go out and bash competitors because it doesn't make us look good. But you do need to have a narrative that shows your strengths, and that the insinuation is, you know, this is what makes us strong, and that is saying, and our competitors can't do without you actually really saying it, right? But you have to identify pain points in your competitor solutions. You have to know that inside and out. You've got to understand when customers that you talk to, you may not even win them over, but if you're doing really good Q&A with them, diagnostics, like what's working, what's not, you're going to find out. Like, again, this is sort of tangential, but we use an event platform right now, and we're in the process of evaluating a change, a shift. That's a big shift for us. I don't know if I'm going to do it because there is a cost of shifting or change. But I'm having conversations with their competitors right now, and they're asking me what's working, what's not. And I'm telling them because I want them to solve my problem. You have to have the same questions aligned of what's working, what's not. And that's not only going to help you with your proposal and winning a deal based on creating a solution, it's giving you really important intel that should be documented so that you're gaining insight into your competitors, regardless of whether you win or not. It's going to help you with the next deal. You'll have a way to highlight those feature gaps internally. That will help you when you're using AI to craft narratives, that you've got this, and that it's a way you're going to train. You can train your chat, your GPT or whatever it may be. Like, here are the gaps I know of this competitor. I know that this client is working with them. I don't want to call those gaps out. However, I want my narrative to highlight what we do against those. Help me do that. That's why this is also important. Okay. If you've got case studies on your side, proof points, customer testimonials, anything that you have in your arsenal where you could say, here are companies that work with us that look like you. I might not be able to tell you who exactly they are, but here are the kinds of results they have. Or, by the way, here's a competitor of yours that works with us, and here's a case study, or here's a testimonial. But you need to have some storytelling. You need to make the discussion not just about your features and functions and benefits like the old school way of selling, but you get their business, you're finding out what's not working, and you're able to map that, and you really will. Hopefully you're using AI right now, but AI can absolutely help you on a customer by customer basis put that story together for yourself. So here is an example of what I call an AI-enabled new business acquisition sprint. Okay, so the first thing you have to do is you actually have to set up your AI. We use ChatGPT, and we are creating custom agents, and we are training our agents. I can show you one I call the Skeptical CEO. And this is actually where anything we write or we put together that is going out to a CEO, ICP, buyer persona in media. We actually call it the Skeptical CEO media person, our agent. And we can upload decks, email copy, script copy for a pitch, outbound sequencing emails, and say, you're the Skeptical CEO. I'm pitching to you. You look, and you're this company size. These are, your pain points. You need to pressure test everything we do. And it does, right? So you can create your GPTs to go at, to look like your core buyer personas within key ICPs, and you can start training it, right? You can talk about buying committee in your agents. So, for example, in events, you may have the marketing person who signs the contract and pays the bill. But if you have speaking opportunities included in your sponsorship, you have a thought leader that's also there who's going to be evaluating your event for renewal, for example. So you know that. So for new business, you're going to say our buying team may be the CMO. In this particular ICP, let's say you go after technology companies, it's going to be the head of the industry vertical. It could also be the CFO, whoever it may be, and you should know this, you can train the GPT to say, who should I be messaging? How should I be messaging it into this account, etc. But again, set your AI up to help you. And then, and you might have multiple, by the way. All right. But your 4 plays with this new business acquisition sprint is once you set up your AI, that's going to help you with all of your content, your connection request copy. You could help with developing your outbound first touch email. If you're using things like what we call CRM sequencing, which is it's not marketing sending out emails for you. It's you're sending out drip campaigns like a touch 1, a touch 2, a touch 3. And touch 2 and touch 3 are activated based on behavior of 1. No open gets X, open but no click gets Y, open and click gets Z, right? Those are branches. Your AI will be able to help you write all that, including subject lines, preview lines, etc., and gear them for the ICP that you're going after and specific companies. All right, but let's go to LinkedIn. LinkedIn is your open the door. I am hugely active on LinkedIn. Every single play we do with an account and a contact has an email. If I'm not connected to them, it's tracked in our HubSpot. I then do a connection request. Again, we use HubSpot, so we have a tool called HubLead that we use that allows us to connect, not only track our connections on LinkedIn, but if we connect, we get an email that gets added into HubSpot right away, and we can then track all of our conversations on LinkedIn in our CRM. But LinkedIn is big, and so you want to make sure you're doing connection requests. If you have LinkedIn Navigator, you can upload your competitive, like here's my list, and you can organize it in a way that this is your lead file of your accounts, and I want to know these are the buyer personas, and they will literally say, here are, for these accounts, you want to reach the CEO, the CFO, the COO, the CPO. They will then say, okay, for that account, here they all are on LinkedIn. Go start connecting. Here's things they've been posting. Here's the last job changes they've had. You could do 3 different types of touches. I've had people send me voice notes. I'm not a big voice note person on LinkedIn. I very much do the direct messaging, but you also want to be commenting and liking their posts. Make sure you're doing that so they see you and that you get put into their feed, and that you've got, AI is helping you so that your posts, commenting on their posts is not just like, wow, this is great. It's actually, it can help you write value-based type of commenting. It can help you create auto-drafted direct messages based on the type of person you're going out to. Again, huge benefits of using AI.
Heather, just reminding you, sorry, we have a great LinkedIn post today about this. If you guys want to check out Heather's post.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That's true. I'll tell you this, actually, even on the LinkedIn, my connection rate, when I go to somebody I want to connect with, and I go through their posts first, and I like and comment on a couple before sending the connection request. And I have to remember to do this because it takes time. It's like, I think I have it's like 3 times better. Like I have a much better outcome, not only in the speed that they connect, because they see I'm real. They see that I'm interested. And then I also always make sure that my connection request is not like, hey, I thought it'd be great to connect. I say things like, I write about data-driven revenue acceleration, and I host a podcast called The Revenue Room. I think you may find it interesting, and it will be great to connect. That's it. No pitch. The next thing I don't do is when they do connect with me, I don't then go like, oh, great, come to Revved Up or become a CXO member. I let it sit for a while, or I'll just say, hey, thanks for connecting. I let them sit. And then I make sure I add their email to our database. I definitely don't make it a marketable email. We have should have a rule, which we're going to be implementing, that anyone who's new to our database, is excluded from any type of email for a period of 2 weeks, so they don't feel like we're coming after them hardcore. These are rules we have. You may have a week or 3 days. What you want to do is you want to make sure you're protecting the relationship that you're just starting to build. There's some tips on LinkedIn. Okay. Email. What's the goal with email? You want to call. That is, I can't. If you don't have calls, I don't care how many emails you send back and forth with a new account, you're delaying your speed to close. Calls are critical. Calls are leading activity levels with salespeople. So your email is about getting a call. Now, is your email like, can I have a call? No, you've got to come up with a real reason why you're reaching out. You want to learn about their business in these particular areas. You saw something on LinkedIn they were posting about that, you can help with. But value-based content in the email is like, oh, by the way, I'd love to speak with you. Here's a link to my calendar if it's something you're interested in. Here would be the goal of our call. And you have the 3 to 5 step sequence that you would do that are automated based on, your first one you send out that's very personalized. And then you have, again, based on, did they open it? Did they not open it? If they opened it, did they click? Or were there multiple opens? And then you have messaging based on that. And it's all set up in your CRM. And AI, again, can help you. Your first line personalization without sounding like a robot. There are tools out there, subject line testing, by the way, and we use our skeptical CEO for that. For CEO, I'm going to do a skeptical CRO. Like, is the subject line going to work? And then are there things in your arsenal that you have that, you know what, they'd be really interested in the speaker that spoke at your event, 2 months ago. Let's have a link to that. Like, what are things that you can include that would be valuable? Again, AI can help you with this. I don't know if you do this or not, but you have print. You should, you've got other things you could utilize in what I call the old school world that still are very valuable. But like, how do you surround high level accounts that you really want to win? And utilizing direct mail. Do you have things like retargeting? So that's digital. If someone clicks on, it starts filling out a form and then drops. Are there ways that you can remarket to them, whether it's through advertising or email? Do you have a budget for a physical type of honestly, like the 50,000 or higher? Like, I know they're spending that with our competitors. I need to get the CEO's attention or whoever your core decision maker is. Is there a cool, fun thing or something impactful you could send to the person? And then the other thing, your marketing automation system needs to be able to support this. But can you have actually through retargeting or campaigns that marketing is doing, can you actually even personalize the landing page that they hit before they, let's say you're trying to get someone to download a media kit, or you want them to do a white paper or a playbook or some other type of lead magnet. There typically should be a landing page. Can that be tailored for, let's say you have a playbook, let's say you have a lead magnet. And the lead magnet is relevant to a CEO, a CRO, and a CFO, right? They're all similar, but they have slight nuances. The CEO is all about value creation. The CRO is all about revenue targets and hitting those, and your CFO is about profitability. You may want to tweak the landing page to utilize nuances of those words that are just, again, people scan for 8 seconds. But literally small tweaks like that can make all the difference in the world. And we're starting to play around now with phone and SMS. We just partnered with a company called Subtext, and we are utilizing that for membership as well as for our events. And I also text on my own, but these are ways that you could send personalized messages as long as you have opt-in and permission about things that you're doing. Now, so this is a little more difficult with what I call complete new business. But if you're successful with your new business efforts to get them in your database and then opt it into something, even though they may not be an opportunity, this is where your phone and SMS could come in. And again, AI really helps with if you do get calls going or messaging. How do I tailor the message? Or if I got a call, I'm going to use AI to give me a just a call brief on what questions am I going to ask for this specific account. Things that I'm going to go do a search. Perplexity is a great tool. Like, you have a meeting with somebody. Where is this person spoken at events, or what are they writing on Reddit, or are they writing on Medium? It'll help you really get together account research, so you walk into that call like armed and ready. And then if you're using call recording, like something like a Gong, or we use Fireflies, you could take your call, download the transcript, and upload it into your AI and say, with everything that I did from research, all of the questions I asked and how they answered, and all the other stuff that happened in this call, write me out my next steps and my follow-up email, and what should I be focusing on in the proposal. Any questions?
Heather, I have a quick question. So first of all, I want to know, it sounds like you guys have been doing the SMS for not that long, but I wanted to know how that's working for you. Are you finding a lot of people opting out, or are they sticking? And then secondly, I heard you mention Perplexity. Are there any other AI tools that you tend to navigate toward?
Yeah, so unfortunately, I cannot. I can give you a little bit of his. So on the text and the subtext, this is a new partnership which we are just launching. I will be able to give you way more information probably by the end of April, because we're kicking it off in March.
Okay.
However, we did do a pilot at Revved Up last year. We actually built it we didn't build it ourselves. We used a company here who built it for us. We called her Clara. And in fact, you'll notice Clara has grown up, and we actually have, that's a whole other, that's from a company called OneMind. She's our inbound SDR on our website. She qualifies leads for us. She answers questions, etc. So I think phone, as long as you have permission and you don't abuse it, the texting will again, it's my gut. Yeah. It worked really well at the event. Where we missed the boat at the event.
I mean, I would tend to think so too. I think it's kind of taking place of email a little bit right now. So I'm just also just kind of curious as to how.
But I also have customers, honestly, I have to text them and be like, hey, I just sent you an email. Can you open it? Oh my God, thank you for texting me. Text is the best. Like, you should actually we should do this too, by the way, for my team. We should actually have a preference for every single account. Like, this person likes email, this person likes text, this person hates us and just want us to call them at all. But the point is we should have that, because it's going to become, email is going to become it's with what's going on with AI, in terms of, there's lots of pluses. There's also a real big issue, which is getting attention to people to go to a website now. So I think phones and SMS is going to become way more important, or what I call dark social. So the second question you had were AI tools. I have a slide at the end that I will go over all of these tools, including AI, because there are a lot. And I guess the big thing I have to ask you is, are you guys a Microsoft house or a Google house?
Microsoft.
Okay. All right. We'll talk about that at the end, but that's definitely a slide here that we'll go over. Oops. Okay. So again, this just is recapping, tailor by persona, map them out. And literally, like, you should have a persona if you're dealing with multiple industries. Let's say you've got financial services, law, executive search. I don't know. They're all slightly different, and they have different nuances. Like the CEO of a law firm or the head managing director, whatever it is, versus an executive search, their motivators are very different in terms of what they want to hear about from you and what problems they're trying to solve. An executive search firm wants to get clients who need to hire people. They want to go at the CEO level. Your law firm wants to probably go to your CEO. Maybe your CFO is probably the bigger, that's where that law person reports into, versus and your chief human resource officer and blah, blah, blah. Map that out, because that will help your AI. You do the hard work to start. That will help your AI when you're starting, like, hey, help me write an email for this this mega law firm. I've got to reach these people. Here's the solutions I've got. Here's what I think is happening in terms of their pain points. Craft me my marketing campaign, my email marketing, my LinkedIn messaging, and boom, yada, yada. Okay. You are going to want to track things like email opens, the LinkedIn engagement, if that's possible. I don't know. Again, I don't think you guys are on HubSpot, but you might have a tool. How many meetings are booked, and not just booked, but conducted. Meetings booked is one thing because people cancel. Meetings conducted is the real harbinger, but booked is important. Proposals, and not just that you send proposals, but you should be tracking how many times they're opening and sharing them. More opens, more shares means that they're sharing it, and that it's being socialized, and that you don't let the ball drop. Because here is a miss. They may be opening and sharing your proposal, but that may mean that there's actually 3 other proposals that are competing for your business. So don't let the open and shares, i.e. the vanity metrics, be like, oh, they're opening and sharing it all the time. This is great. You're like all over that like a wet towel. Like, okay, I sent you the proposal 2 days ago. Is there, do you have a time to meet? And in fact, you should never send a proposal unless you have, I'm going to send you this. We agreed, boom, boom, boom. Can I get a call on your schedule to go over this proposal in 5 days? Is that enough time for you to go over it? Look at early pipeline. Listen, another leading indicator besides meetings booked and calls conducted is how much velocity are you creating a new pipeline opportunity? Not just is it moving, new pipeline opportunity. If no pipeline is being created, that is a leading indicator that you were unsuccessful in acquiring this new revenue. The third leading indicator is the deal moving? If it's stalled, it's nothing. It doesn't matter to me. So these are the KPIs you should be tracking and having dashboards. And you should actually have these KPIs organized by the 3 things we talked about during this boot camp. Remember, there was the renewal. These are important for renewals or upsell and cross-sell. And then I want to track it for new business. I want to see how all 3 of these things are doing, because those 3 things, that calculation, that it is my revenue growth. Okay, this is a hypothetical use case. Let's just say I wanted to get to 180K in 45 days. Annual recurring revenue, that's ARR. When it's a SaaS term for you guys who think about it is like repeatable contract value that I get over. I want to get 80K in annual contract revenue. So I'm using, here is a 45-day cycle, right? I've identified signals of people, they're going to our pricing page. So I don't know why I have the word competitor in there. I'll have to take, that's actually incorrect. They're on our pricing page, right? They're on our competitor list. Somehow they've been getting emails, or we did social posts. They've now started hitting our pricing page or our media kit page, or something is happening. And I know that as a competitor, we're getting close to Q4. It's a media company. It's a media competitor. It's the media channel. So, wow, this is hot for us. Boom. I'm going to start doing some outbound channel execution. I just updated this, and I don't know what just happened. So there's a duplicate copy right there on day 2 to 3. What that should be is, now I'm going to select my channels. I'm going to go telemarketing. That account now is a hot account. So put it into your marketing nurture bundle over here at your funnel. On my side as a salesperson, I'm going to create a 3 to 5 touch outbound sequence. I'm also going to identify every single one of the buyer personas for that ICP at that company. I want to make sure they're in our database. I'm going to make sure, and all of the data is completely filled out so that I can segment and do what I need. I'm going to see, am I connected to them on LinkedIn or not? And I'm going to create a sequence that is, my first touch is actually going to be, I am going to go research them on LinkedIn, and I'm going to start liking and commenting on these 5 people posts, because they make up what we think is the buying committee. Then after that, in 2 days, I'm going to then schedule a LinkedIn connection request. After I do the connection request, the next day, I'm going to launch my 3 to 5 touch email sequence, introducing myself, talking about some of the things I know about their market, things we have heard that help them. But you'll come up, and again, your AI is going to help you do this. So it's going to speed up your time. You're going to kick off your multi-touch campaign. And then hopefully at some point, day 5, maybe that's a little too aggressive, day 10, demo or call secured. You need to have a time. My goal is I want to call secured by this time. And then by day 30, you've got a proposal in hand, and you closed it by day 45. Just as a hypothetical, you need to map out your own hypothetical use case and to pressure test whether it works. But in my case, I said, okay, I've got to find for this to work for $180,000 in 45 days in annual recurring revenue. We have an ACV of $15,000 per deal. I need to get 36 high intent opportunities. What is high intent for us? High intent is that I've got, by the time this multi-channel execution launches, I either have indication that this person wants to talk to me. And I would say that's low intent, but there's indication. I create the opportunity. I keep it at like a 25% or lower. But when I get this demo secured, that to me, or the call, let's call it a call, that is, I'm moving into high intent. So that would be, I need 36 of those. Of the 36, I'd say, okay, I need, I'm going to have some drop-offs, some cancellations. I need 28 of those 36 to result in a call. Once those results in a call, I need X% of those 26 to result in a proposal. And of those proposals, I need X%. We have something called verbal yes. I need X% to move into verbal yes, commit. And then I need those to move into contract and into closed won. And I need 12 of that. That has to get me to 12 at $15K to get to my 180. Again, use your own math, but that is how you will think about your pilot and your use case. Any questions? Okay. All right. So this is another play, the intent intercept, speed is everything. What do we tell our customers? Like if you give customers leads and they're over 24 hours old or 48 hours old, the leads are dead and stale. Why? Because they're also on Google. If there's any type of like a G2, if you're in the technology space, or there's like any type of marketplace that is literally giving them leads within 24 hours, which is how people are responding. And now with intent data, like I'll go to a site and I'll do stuff and not even opt in, but because I might be a newsletter subscriber, they have my email address. I'm getting an email back saying, hey, I saw you were pursuing this within 2 hours, right? Like that's life now. So how are you operating the same way? Do you have a rapid response system in place of 2 hours of the buying signal? What are those signals? Are they on your pages looking at competitors of theirs? Are they downloading content? Are they looking at multiple pages of articles? Are they checking out conference agendas? What are your key triggers? And then what is your playbook when they happen? So the framework is detect your signals, define them first, detect them, and then figure out a way once they're detected, how you get triggers and alerts to respond within 24 to 48 hours. Make sure you have sales, what I call sales enablement, that when those triggers do happen, you have pre-built templates. And again, your AI can do this. Like, what if I send somebody who looks at who's looking at competitors on our event page and they've gone 3 times, what's to me, if you're looking at competitors on an event page, you're trying to see if I should be there. I'm trying to see if I should be there, right? So my message should be to that person like, hey, I noticed you're on the page. Look at that. Do you want to, I have a way for us to understand, should you be at our event or not? Is it worth ROI? Let's set up a call. Here are some things that can help you. And then you have to measure and optimize. Is it working? Like, what are the response rates to these types of trigger alerts in terms of the templates? How many meetings are you getting? And you continue to what I call rinse, lather, repeat, refine, make it better. So again, I talked about written templates to make it plug and play. So I just talked about the competitor one. Like they're looking at rate cards. If you've got pricing available, I noticed you're looking at pricing. Again, just be blunt, straight to the point. Like they're there. They know that you know this is not Big Brother anymore. This is reality. They understand it. If they have downloaded white papers or you have lead magnets, like again, these are templates that you can follow up with that should be in your CRM. That actually will map to these types of triggers. It helps you, it helps your salespeople, and it eliminates decision fatigue, right? It's just really, really effective. Get these done. And also for your sales team's time. All right, again, I can't believe I put omni-channel, so multi-channel blitz. So for your top 10 to 20 must-win accounts, like do you have a saturation campaign across 4 to 5 channels? Again, LinkedIn we talked about. Emails, is there, your phone? We have to get on the phone more. People actually, because of AI, are actually wanting more phone. They think emails are being written by AI, and I have some tips and tricks about how to avoid that. But what is if you had 10 accounts, like if we won these, if I won 2 of these 10, because we have an ACV value on these, we know they're spending 30 to 50,000. So that's 60 to 100K. If I got 2, what are we going to invest in that? Okay. And then again, this is just another example. You do a 7-day blitz with those, LinkedIn, email, maybe you send something in the mail, or you've got retargeting ads. You might have CEOs, and you might want to say, I need our CEO to do an executive outreach with me. That's how important the account is. Get your CEO involved, or get your chief revenue officer involved. And then you can, rinse, lather, repeat. So this is a sample of what you could set up on your dashboards of what good looks like how many LinkedIn connections have you had in your list of, let's say, remember I mentioned that competitive land grab list in the beginning? Brand new logos you want to bring that are spending with your competitors and not with you. And then you've got wallet share capture where they're spending with you, but in a channel. They're spending in like a channel with your competitors. They're not spending with you. How are you doing with your stakeholder outreach on LinkedIn? Are you connecting with them? And again, you need to have a way to measure that. We do. If you don't, then don't worry about it. We'll pick something else. How many emails have you been able to add to the database that you've marketed to that got them to opt in for a newsletter that made them marketable? That could be another one. How much engagement are you getting through the emails and the marketing? Clicks, opens. Are you getting actually meetings? How many opportunities? Are they going to the landing page? Again, you come up with what good looks like, and it should be on your dashboard with this campaign. And for I talked about meetings, let's say for every 10 accounts, getting 1 to 2 meetings every 10 accounts, is that what good looks like? Maybe that you've got a more difficult audience and it's 1 to 2 meeting every 20 accounts. But what is that number? Put a line in the sand of what conversion needs to look like. And then if you're not hitting it, it's not that maybe the campaign or this isn't successful. You might have a missing link that we talked about earlier that you need to fix. And then what is the return on I put return on advertising spend. It's really return on your overall spend, because that as I mentioned, if you could get $100,000 out of those 10, of 10 accounts you convert to, and it's $100,000 and it costs you $6,000 to do it, is that a good X factor? So I'm going to, because I want to get into the tech stuff with you guys. This is basically you're going to do some competitor pricing research. You're going to figure out what high value means to no engagement. And you need to think about, actually, it's not just your competitor list. It's if it's events and you know what events they're doing and the date, what is that renewal window for those events? And if it's media spend, it's clear. It's going to be, based on if it's digital or print. When are you going to go? When do you really have to start going in? Because you want to get them when they're making decisions. The worst thing is sorry, we already planned our budget. It's very hard to change that. This is the architecture, signal detection. You score your signals. What kind of plays are you going to generate based on the scripts and the triggers? And how do you do things automatically? And you may have, your marketing or RevOps team here to help you, but automating as much as possible without losing the personalization is key. Just let me do one thing here. Okay, good. So it's this slide. Okay, so here's a system that you could do in 30 days. Define your 3 signals. Well, first get your list together. Define the 3 signals that matter most that you can detect without really changing anything. Create your templates based on those signals, build some workflows, and test it. Test drive it. Okay, and if you want to use our call, the office hours call to really dig into your specific use case, I'm happy to really get down into detail about this with you. All right, so let's talk about tech. I talked a lot about AI. Again, I don't know what your marketing this is really a sales tech stack, marketing sales tech, but your core is you need a CRM, okay, and that's the key part. You might have all these other things like lead intelligence. We happen to use on lead intelligence, I mentioned Hubly, but we also use we use RocketReach and Hunter. We have 4. I can explain why we use all of them, but let me talk about the AI first. Actually, in website visitor ID is another thing that you should think through. You may have this through first party data, but if you don't have a first party data platform, we don't have like that. So we need to rely on HubSpot was that website visitor ID, and we probably are going to get something called RB2B. They focus on US only though, and that's all we care about right now. But it tells us. It can actually tell us by URL and person who's coming to our site, where they're visiting, and to complement what HubSpot's telling us, because HubSpot doesn't get it all the time. So AI tools. What we use at H2K Labs is we use the following. We use Google Apps. So we use Gemini and Notebook. We're really actually just starting with those. It's kind of last on our list. Really where we're sitting is with ChatGPT and Claude. And we use them for slightly different things. ChatGPT is where we are building custom agents that I told you, the skeptical CEO, let's call it the skeptical CRO. We have maybe an ICP and buyer persona definer. We are building something called, it's based, what is it? It's a fact checker. It's for events. We want to make sure every time we have an email, we got people's names spelled right, that we're not, the times are right. But we use ChatGPT very much to build these custom agents and to create projects where multiple people can work on together for copy creation, etc. I'm actually more of the Claude user when it comes to building content that we are using for educational purposes or playbooks. It sounds less like AI, but it doesn't have the agents the custom agents that ChatGPT has. So they both work. One of the CROs that is coming to speak at Revved Up basically is buying enterprise accounts for all of her team for both Claude and ChatGPT because they're used differently. Jasper is something we use. I use that a lot and I probably could cancel it if I wanted to at this point, but I use that a lot for what I call in-email writing, where I want to make sure that my grammar is correct, that it knows my tone of voice as Heather, the CEO. So that's another one. But there are, I think for Microsoft, they have Copilot. Now, I've never used Copilot, can't really talk a lot about it. Your company may actually have a rule that you can only use Copilot because a lot of companies, Microsoft has the enterprise level, data and IP protection, whereas we don't have to worry about that so much.
Yeah, we don't have a rule on what we can and can't use. Like I personally use ChatGPT a lot. Copilot I don't really use because I don't feel like Copilot knows me very well, but
yeah, I gotta say I didn't want to say it, but I have not heard great things about Copilot.
Yeah. I mean, everybody sounds like the same person.
Yeah. So I would say if I had to give you one piece of advice that was game changing for me, and let me see if I can show you. I'm going to get into our ChatGPT. So here are my GPTs. All right. So I've got a journalist. So for blogs, and I've been training it to be like a wire caliber journalist to also write like me, things of the topics. This is for blogs, but here's my skeptical CEO. And I'm going to say here, let me give you a test. Okay. I need to write a compelling email to the CEO of Business Insider about Revenue Room CXO membership. I do not want to lead with membership. I need to lead with value. This will be part of a three touch email campaign. The CTA I want in email 1 is a response. CTA email 2 is click to something valuable. And CTA email 3 is meeting booked. The CEO is a female, so it may be helpful to include things like women of the revenue room and what's it called? The revenue room salon. Okay. So now it's going to start asking me some questions because I trained it. Or it should be, maybe it's being a little rogue right now. But it's saying, what is a single concrete value asset? So it's asking me, what do I want to put in there? So I have to say, let me see, because I actually haven't trained it on the assets. I should upload, and I'll show you how to do that. It's now writing the emails for me. And then I keep going back and forth saying, I like this, I don't like that. I never take it for what it's worth here first. I pressure test it. And I also make sure to tell it, please don't use M dashes. Please do not use M dashes. All right, we got 1 minute left, but I mean, I could go on and on about this. I could do that. But anyway, point is you could use this. Now, where you train your GPT is you create the GPT and you have a back end to it. So I could go and edit my GPT and you hit configure, like you literally, what are the conversation starters? Those are here. You can upload files, playbooks. You could do presentations. You could say, here are the 4 PDFs we have to offer. And, based on these things, but you just keep building this and it just gets smarter and better. This has been really, really game changing for us. So, okay, I'm going to stop sharing. I didn't plan on going all the way to the end like this, but any questions, or you can email them to me. If I have another 5 minutes, if you want.
So then our next, when we have our office hours with you, or will we schedule that this week?
Yeah, yes. Kelly should have reached out to you to get those scheduled.
Okay.
Yeah, awesome. So you should have received an email from me already with windows for that.
Okay, I'll look for that.
Yeah. And then, if I said in the original email about this, but if you have things that you want to send Heather, like in advance of that call, just that you want to talk about, that would be great. So, just let me know.
And in fact, what we could do on the call is not just that. I'm happy to set up. I'll help you set up your custom GPT.
Cool.
Okay. Was this helpful to everybody?
Yes, very.
Okay. All right. Doris, did you get value? And you can say no.
Got my wheels spinning for our one-on-one.
Okay. Got it. Okay. Perfect. Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Great
Thanks,
weekend,
everybody.
everyone.